Hey all, today I thought it would be fun to talk about some fun sleeper cars. No, not the cars you can sleep in, but rather the cars that are pretty fast but don't look like they are. Something that doesn't stand out, so you won't see things like the Civic Type R on this list. Today I have 5 cars for you that I think are still a good buy in 2024. We'll talk about pricing as of July 2024, features, pros and cons about each, and more. So let's dive right in. Let's start with probably the most obvious one on this list. It's the 9th gen 2013 to 2017 Honda Accord with a V6. The 9th gen Accord was available in 2 body styles, in a 4-door sedan form and in a 2-door coupe form, or coupe, if you want to be pedantic about it. Both were available with a 3.5-liter V6 producing 278 horsepower and 242 pound-feet of torque. That's mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. The manual option is available only on the coupe variant. This setup is good for 5.6 seconds from 0 to 60, and boy does it sound good doing so. It's not gonna give you tunnel vision when you floor it, but it's no slouch either. The good thing about the Accord is that Honda sells a bajillion of them and then some.
Somewhere between 700 billion and $1.3 billion.
So it is easier to find one that's not clapped out and has not been beaten the absolute living crap out of by some kid who just got their license. A used V6 Accord will run you anywhere from 10 to 15k depending on the mileage and condition for the coupe version, and slightly less than that for the sedan. The pros include reliability. These things are known to go 200k miles and beyond with just the regular maintenance. It's also fairly common, so the parts should be cheap and easy to come by. It has great aftermarket support and it's cheap to own and maintain. The cons is that no manual option available in the sedan variant. If you want a manual, you have to go to the coupe. It can struggle a bit to put the power down due to its front-wheel drive nature. It's not uncommon for it to spin the wheels on the roll in second gear. Some people also reported that in the manual there is no clear clutch point feel. Now this next vehicle might actually surprise you. It's 2017 to 2019 Ford Fusion Sport, back from the days when Ford was channeling their inner Aston Martin for design inspiration.
They're the same picture.
But the striking resemblance to Aston Martin's is not why Ford Fusion is on this list. It's because while it looks like your regular family sedan, it packs a serious punch. Under the hood of the Ford Fusion Sport, you'll find Ford's 2.7-liter EcoBoost twin-turbo V6, capable of producing 325 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission and does 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds stock. That's supercar territory from the late 80s. Just to put it into perspective, Ferrari Testarossa, a legendary supercar from the 80s, does 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. Throw some ECU tune on the Ford, better tires and bigger brakes, and you will unleash a monster. And because it's all-wheel drive, you should also have easier time putting all that power down to the wheels. These days you can pick one up with 75 to 80,000 miles on the auto for around $15,000, with the low mileage examples creeping into low 20s territory. The pros are, it has incredible power stock, it has pretty good tuning potential, and because it's a parts bin special, it shares parts with F-150 and Edge Sport, so parts availability should not be an issue. It is also packed with modern technology. It has all the safety features and driver assists, and even includes things like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The cons are, at 4,128 pounds, it is pretty chunky. The steering feel can be a little bit vague, and it has a cheap-looking interior. Reliability can be a hit or a miss depending on the previous owner. While it's not as good as the Accord, but it's also not terrible. It also has torque steer when you floor it, while the all-wheel drive system is taking a moment to figure out what to do. Overall, I think this car is the very definition of a sleeper. It can hold some serious butt, and also has all the creature comforts you would expect from a modern car. Perfect blend for a daily driver. But if 325 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque is not enough for you, or if you want something a little bit nicer than a Ford, then look no further than Fusion's fancier brother, the Lincoln MKZ. It shares the same platform with the Fusion, but has a 3.0-liter twin-turbo V6 under the hood that's good for 400 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. The power is sent to the wheels through a 6-speed automatic transmission. This setup does 0 to 60 in just 4.8 seconds. This, along with the Lincoln's reputation for grandpa's car, makes the ultimate sleeper in my opinion. No one expects a grandpa to do 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds on his way to church on a Sunday morning. You can find one with relatively low mileage for around 20-25k, depending on the options and condition. The pros are: it has insane power for what it is. The ride quality is nice and plush, it has all modern creature comforts you've come to expect, and it has a nicer interior. The cons are: it has higher cost of maintenance and ownership, it also has some torque steer like its Ford brother, and it has a push-button transmission. Also, because the ride is so nice and plush, it lacks in high-speed cornering. So depending on what you want from your vehicle, this could be either a pro or a con for you. The next one on this list is another Ford. I know, but look, it's not my fault that Ford used to make a lot of good sleepers, okay? We're talking about 2010 to 2019 Ford Taurus SHO or super high output. Another car that perfectly fits the definition of a sleeper. It looks much like regular Taurus, except for some badging and black grille on the SHO variant. But it has 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 under the hood, producing 360 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. Power is sent to all four wheels through a 6-speed automatic transmission, and 0 to 60 happens in only 5.2 seconds. If you're considering one of these, I would recommend to look for 2017 and up, as that's when they added Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Ford also packed this thing to the brim with the features. Depending on the packages, you can find one with heated and cooled front seats, heated rear seats, premium Sony audio, and even massaged seats. It also has an unusually nice interior, well, at least for a Ford of that era. But all those bells and whistles come at a cost in weight. At 4,346 pounds, this thing is an absolute chungus. Depending on the year and mileage, you can get one for as low as 11 to 12k, with the nicer examples creeping up into low to mid 20s. The pros are its power, it has firmer suspension for better handling, it has tons of features, it also has a pretty good interior, and it's also tunable. The cons are obviously its weight. It also has rather small brakes for its power, and that, with addition to its weight, can overheat brakes fairly easily if you push it too hard. Also, the steering can be rather numb, and it has capacitive touch buttons.
What's that, brother?
And finally, our last car on this list is from a brand that has an even bigger reputation of making cars for old people. It's Buick Regal GS. Under the hood you'll find a 3.6-liter V6 that makes around 310 horsepower and 282 pound-feet of torque. It sends power to all four wheels through a 9-speed automatic transmission. This combo is good for 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds. It may not be the fastest one on this list, but you know what old people like? Quiet and luxury. The Regal GS is an incredibly comfortable highway cruiser. It is very smooth and quiet, but can also get a bit rowdy if you really want it to. This one is probably the most expensive on this list. You can find a decent one at around mid to high 20s depending on the mileage. The good thing about buying these used is that they were owned by older people, so they weren't abused as much and most likely were properly maintained. The pros include refined and comfortable ride, quiet interior, it's pretty spacious for its class, both for passengers and cargo, it's decently fast, and it can be found with upscale features like massaging seats, heads-up display, etc. The cons is that it is still a bit pricey, the steering can be a bit dull for spirited driving, and it's not very common, so the parts might be a bit more pricey and harder to come by. Well, that's it. That was the last car on the list. Let me know in the comments below what is your favorite sleeper and why is it Chevy SS. Just kidding, I'm genuinely curious what you guys like. Thanks for watching.